Hello and welcome to another episode of World Echoes, Red Lantern Analytica's very own podcast. I'm your host Vanchinathan Y, and joining us today is Ambassador of Lithuania, Her Excellency Diana Mickevičienė. Excellency, welcome you to the show, ma'am, and thank you for joining us today.
Hello, namaste. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, Lithuania is often called the hidden gem of the Baltics, but in the halls of New Delhi, it is becoming a prominent strategic player in India. From being a vocal champion of India-EU Free Trade Agreement to fostering deepened ties in high-tech manufacturing, the momentum in India is undeniable for Lithuania's participation. On this note, ma'am, you often mention that our two nations are geographically distant, but we are linguistic cousins. Beyond the fascinating Sanskrit-Lithuanian connection, how does this historical affinity translate into modern diplomacy in 2026?
Well, it's a very nice point to start with. The slow pace of cooperation is often, or lack of cooperation is often explained by the lack of knowledge about each other. And sometimes this lack of knowledge is, in the world where there is so much of everything and the world is big and, lots of activities happening. Yes. There are always interesting ways to connect to a partner who seemingly is far away, and when you start digging in, it turns out that you are connected much more than you are realizing.
Yes,
and linguistic connection or historical connections between Lithuania and India has been precisely that realm where you start digging, you realize that it's not okay that we have only this much trade. It's not okay that we have so much of, this little of exchanges and tourists and students and so on. Because our historical records show that the people traveled and reached out to each other,
Yes.
a few hundred years ago when it was very difficult to travel. So linguistic connection, of course, is one ancient one, which we are definitely not aware about enough. The linguistic fact is that Lithuanian language, for many historical reasons, is considered to be the closest, perhaps the closest sister language of Sanskrit. But it's a living language, so it's very much in use. And it's a very interesting realm of, linguistics, history, archaeology to try and explain this connection. So that's that's the area I'm very much invested into. But then also our historical connections. We have just celebrated 400 years from the arrival of the first Lithuanian
Yes.
in India last year. And we dedicated the whole year 2025-26 to something we call people-to-people connections. So the history of 400 years shows that people reached out and recorded, mentioned, and reviews of each other's hundreds of years before we are doing now, using flights, internet, and all the fast speed connections. We could do much more because
Yes.
people, in the absence all of that, already did that. So we just need to build up on that. So it definitely helps to warm the hearts of each other, to draw the attention, and it's definitely not an end in itself, but it's a means, it's an instrument to build future partnerships. Therefore, the subtitle of that the year of people-to-people cooperation that we chose is From Sanskrit to Satellites. So that only shows that we may have historical connections which are deep, which are understudied, but the aim is in fact to go to the future technologies, and specifically satellites have been chosen because we have been launching nanosatellites from India, which is a very symbolic engagement. It's a very serious high-tech engagement between the countries, but it's also very symbolic because India is so huge and Lithuania is tiny. So nanosatellite, a Lithuanian nanosatellite from that huge launch pad of India is as sort of a reflection, a nutshell of what can big and small country do together.
Ambassador has rightly pointed out, this historical foundation is what has laid our relationship till the contemporary time. Though Lithuania is a smaller size when compared to India, our relationship is stronger than ever. Ma'am, moving to the present, present, Lithuania has taken some of the very principled, bold stands in the international relations lately, particularly regarding the sovereignty and the economic resilience. How do you see India fit into the Lithuania's Indo-Pacific outlook or the maritime cooperation outlook?
Yes, we are one of the countries in Europe which has adopted the so-called Indo-Pacific strategy. And many partners have asked why, because we don't have a historical engagement. I mean, it's actually a positive thing. We've never been an imperial power or never colonized anyone, so we don't have that baggage. But we also didn't have presence, so it is a shortcoming because you just don't have experience, you don't have diasporas, you don't have historical pillars to support your connection. But yes, you rightly said we had the opportunities to rethink our engagement of strategies across the globe, and especially after we have more or less settled our existential needs as a country. We reappeared on the map after a lot of hardships in 1991, when we picked up as a fully fledged independent country. So initial decade was dedicated to those engagements and outreaches which guaranteed our existential needs, surviving basically on the map, building up our economy, which I think we did greatly, because we have grown from poverty, from dependency on that huge mammoth and bankrupt Soviet economy into an independent high-tech country which can sell goods globally, which imports a lot, which this society is very cosmopolitan, outgoing, and also receptive to new ideas. So then we had to rethink about how to engage in the further world, which was a little further away, where we had less probably input before. And the strategy came after we had faced a certain difficulty engaging with one of the superpowers, China, which had weaponized the economic connections and trade against us and tried to apply pressure. We came up with a strategy about Indo-Pacific, about engaging Indo-Pacific, in which there is a very clear emphasis that economy and political engagement cannot go,
hand in hand.
Cannot go. In fact, they have to go hand in hand. They cannot go separately. So the idea of a strategy is that engagement with democratic countries and partners is always much more beneficial than just economic engagement, which at the short sight might look very, very lucrative, but may end you up in a very strong dependency, which can be turned against you. And India, being the largest democratic country, but also part of Indo-Pacific, became one of the pillars of our engagement, where we clearly said, on the level of the government, our strategy is not just a think tank paper, it was approved by the government, so it's a government strategy paper, which shows that Lithuania has to engage much more with democratic partners to build the economic relations which will go in sync with our political engagement and with our joint commitment, shared commitment in the UN, in the global fora, to follow the rules, to follow international law. And that would also guarantee that whatever we do on economic front will give us solid foundation for the friendship and the real partnership, and not for some short-term transactions which might ultimately be not that useful and might cost you in terms of covering the cost of weaponizing the dependencies.
Let's pivot to the mother of all deals. You have been one of the most enthusiastic supporters of the India-EU Free Trade Agreement, which we signed in January 2026, Ambassador. We have seen a significant process in this year into bringing this agreement into a reality. So, from where you sit, what are the 2 or 3 most transformative wins that this deal offers to small to medium-sized European countries as such of Lithuania, Ambassador?
Yes, the first transformative element in that whole process is that it is much more than just an economic deal. It is a vote of confidence for both sides, and we, being small and being less known, perhaps we are definitely standing here to profit, because being part of that single market, which is called European Union, we are automatically interested to Indian businesses who want to avail of the, lesser tariffs or preferential treatments in the agreement. We, being small, might never be able to invest too much into marketing compared to the small country, to big economies, and also for historical reasons we didn't have embassy for decades, compared to others who have always been in Delhi, always promoting themselves and much better known. So therefore, for us, it offers a new avenue to be known, to be seen, because whatever is in the deal is applicable to our economy. That's one. Second thing, that being a small country, we are a gateway to a much bigger market. So when we talk Lithuania-India connection in terms of business, it's never about entering the 3 million market. It's entering the market of 400 million, which is EU, through a specific point, like, for example, Lithuania.
Thank you, Excellency.
And definitely the second big thing is that the lower and preferential tariffs and treatments envisaged in the agreement per se are definitely the maximum the two sides have ever given to anyone. From what we know, India has never conceded so much, and Europe has never conceded so much towards India. So that shows how politically and also long-term planning economically this has been really negotiated. For a small country, which has mostly, of course, small and medium-sized enterprises, it also is a very cost-saving exercise to come to India market now, because the tariffs will be less. Certain preferential treatments will be there for us, which will otherwise not be possible. Therefore, it will hopefully make cost of making business in India or trading with India less. So, for a small company, it is definitely very interesting.
Ambassador, Lithuania has been a high purchasing power and a demand for quality goods. How will this FTA specifically help Indian textiles, pharmaceuticals, or the agricultural products to reach the Lithuanian consumers and on a whole to the European market?
Yes, we have definitely reached the high purchasing power status. In the recent years, our GDP per capita has reached 30,000 euros recently, which is like 9 times from where we started. As I was telling you, when we liberated ourselves from Soviet Union, we were really a poor country with economy in shatters, and now we are proudly in the high income countries. So our customers expect and can afford high quality goods, and they look forward to them. It's a very open economy. But then I would like to come back as a next step to what I have already said, that it's never about Lithuania only. We might not talk necessarily about the whole of the European Union, but definitely businesses see us regionally. So we are also part of that very affluent Nordic Baltic region, which has the collective economy, which is almost like half of India. It's a very rich area. And we are an entry point for many reasons. One is that, of course, being part of EU, it's a single window for Indian goods. And you have mentioned 3 areas: textiles, pharmaceuticals, and agricultural products, right? So on agricultural products, I think we've been receiving Indian imports already. And on textiles, and Indian textiles have been very famous, and I think India should do more to promote them, because even our design industry, which is very, very flourishing, in fact very vibrant, design, would be interested, because they developed something that can be then later on manufactured for the whole of European Union, but it might be designed in Lithuania. Pharmaceuticals, I would especially flag that, because we are a biotech country. About 10 years ago, the government took it up as a priority to achieve at least 3% of our GDP 5% of our GDP till 2030 and we are very much on a good track to achieving that. The biotech industry has been flourishing, which gives a very good basis for Indian pharma companies to come and settle in Lithuania, but of course think about the whole
European
market. The investments we have had from India so far have come specifically to cater for a much bigger market. But while being a high income economy, we function in still a very reasonable range of prices in terms of manufacturing, in terms of land. So this is a good entry point to come and manufacture in Lithuania. So for pharmaceuticals, that would mean some final step of a certain manufactured product, which would allow them to be registered as made in EU. So they could be made in India, but a last leg of that manufacture would need to be done in Lithuania, and then you are automatically
into the European market.
Into the European market. But in terms of selling, then again, it's an entry point. You can register yourself in Lithuania and reach the other markets for selling as an imported good. Mm-hmm. Indian pharmaceuticals have traditionally had a very good reputation in Lithuanian market, so I think that's also something that customers would also look forward to.
That's one good thing to hear, Ambassador, that the pharmaceuticals, Indian pharmaceuticals have a good market here.
All of them. I mean, pharmaceuticals, agriculturals, Indian rice, basmati rice is a household name in Lithuania. Indian teas are also a household name. Everybody is looking forward to that. Spices, of course, that traditional. Thing. On textiles again, Indian textiles is to me, the world of textiles and saris is a wonder world. So I'm sure Lithuanians are really thrilled to get more of that.
Excellency, though in Lithuania being a small size country, Lithuania has become a laser powerhouse of the world. So most people don't realize the huge percentage of the world's scientific lasers actually come from Lithuania. But how are we moving from a vendor-client relationship to a co-creation model with India's high-tech hubs to actual R&D in manufacturing under the Make India initiative?
Thank you for this question. I've specifically been busy with this question. And what I have already told before, and I would like to repeat, is that while we are already selling scientific lasers to the major research labs in India, and yes, you are right, some of the scientific lasers in the high intensity range only come from Lithuania. They're not available anywhere else in the short pulse, meaning that the most intense, like femto and picosecond lasers. But I think it's time to come to a next stage, that is the joint integration and manufacturing in lasers. So it's very clear to me that Lithuania can be a part of Indian smart manufacturing mission, which you have as one of your priority missions, in terms of strategies for industry and for development. Because no high-tech manufacturing is possible without lasers. So here we are, we really, establishing connections with various interlocutors here in India to actually move to that next stage.
Excellency, we have seen a huge amount of student population as well in Lithuania. So what are the steps being taken to ensure that the skills of these Indian students are integrated into the high-tech Lithuanian workforce? Are there any sort of a professional hiring that the government has taken, or are there any skill set that the government requires to hire the Indian students? So how do we go about that?
So first thing is, it's a fact that Lithuania looks forward to Indian talent, talent meaning, in the graduates. So at any given time we have close to 2,000 Indian students studying, but of course in different, subjects, different high schools across the country. And it's an economy that is waiting for Indian graduates too. So the first step that the government did was that the temporary residence permits rules have been changed to allow a graduate to stay one more year to look for a job. That gives him or her the space and time required to look for the opportunities. Of course, we are also very keen to have Indian students continue their research. So after having completed the masters, we have those excellent labs in life science and physics, like you mentioned, lasers. to actually go and continue the academic path. So last year or a year before, I was very happy to hear that there was a first Indian PhD in photovoltaic that was completed, defended in Lithuania, where an Indian student stayed on and is working in a laser area, exactly where we want to build more bridges. So I really, want to have all of those happening more. And yes, we will be needing Indian talents for sure. It's a prerequisite for the further development of our economy.
Excellency, apart from the student cooperation or the laser powerhouse or the security aspect, what are the few sectors that this relationship hasn't touched upon, and what do you look forward to taking this relationship forward?
You mean students' academics or in general industry?
In terms of general relationship aspect.
So what we have seen is a number of high-tech companies which have been exploring Indian market, and in that case it's never like export-import. It's in fact bringing the technology here and multiplying and scaling it up for the needs of a huge economy in India, which also is imperative for for a Lithuanian technology to improve, to scale up, to change, to adapt. And the industries and the companies we have seen coming here, we have been from those areas. For example, in ICT, in IoT devices, we are doing pretty well. The companies come to India and they have a solution which has been developed in Lithuania, but it is a very wide application across sectors in India, about regions in India, which attract the companies here. So then they actually work here with the local soft developers, with the local industries, studying the needs and offering those solutions, which are Lithuanian, but ultimately they become Indian solutions because they are adapted to the Indian market, of a huge digital market. Yeah.
Excellency, to wrap up this session, if you had to look forward to 2030, what is the one image or a milestone that you have to see in this Lithuania-India story?
Well, I would love to see definitely at least one or two big Indian manufacturers with a factory in Lithuania, and on the opposite side, one or two manufacturers from Lithuania in Indian
setting
markets,
up the office,
because I can see we are very close to that already. At some point, when the companies are doing fine selling technology or solution, the next step is going to be manufacturing it locally. So of course India has a Make in India program, and the government very much prioritizes and invites companies. We do the same. We also are a manufacturing hub. For us, engineering is in our genes, and especially high-tech engineering is picking up. So without Indian talent, I can't imagine this happening. But if you ask me, yes, 2030, I would love to see one or two factories on both sides setting up. One of them, I would love to be a farmer, because while India is a country of pharma, I can really see Lithuanian, scientists, Lithuanian research integrated into Indian pharma and offering, goods for the whole world.
Ambassador, so most of our audiences are students, scholars, and researchers. To them, what do you want to say to them? As in, how can they elaborate on studying in Lithuania, or how can they contact you or the embassy in facilitating their education in Lithuania, or any means of contact there?
So the contacts are all very much online. We have the Studies Exchange Fund active in Lithuania, which is under Ministry of Education, that connects all the high, universities and all high schools there who are eager to receive Indian students. And of course, there are various incentives for the high-performing students. So the advantage of studying in Lithuania is that it's a part of the European Union. which means that while you are a student in Lithuania, you can be a student to do a
elsewhere.
semester in Sweden or France or Germany. That's a very mobile educational system. Our own students do that. You would hardly imagine graduating a student in Lithuania, as a student in Lithuania without having spent time
in
on
Lithuania.
university for the same price, basically. We are definitely much more cost effective as a study destination. But also what I would really like to see is more Indian young researchers, doctoral researchers and postdoc researchers coming to work in our labs. I have visited, laser research facilities. I've visited life science research facilities. They are out of this world. They are the best in the world. And they really are very happy to receive Indian talents coming and developing research jointly. Because after that, the next step is, the product or solution is developed jointly that can be, perfected there, could be applied here, or opposite, because now we have the excellent opportunities in mobility. Being part of European Union, we're also part of Horizon 2020, the Erasmus exchange.
Yes.
So we basically need scientific ideas and more exchanges to pair scholars together, because for the project to be eligible, to be funded by European Union funds, you need both institutions and researchers to work together. So that is where I think, due to the lack of each awareness, we are still working on that. Funds for good research should not be an issue, and they are generally very much available.
Ambassador, I'm sure that this interaction would inspire researchers to look into the Lithuanian educational aspects. This interaction has been a compelling vision for this India-Lithuania partnership, going from strength to strength, from security to student interactions to lace up our houses. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us today and for building these interactions between Vilnius and New Delhi. And to our listeners, thank you for turning in. You can find more details about this India-Lithuania partnership in our show notes. And until next time, stay curious. Thank you.
Thank you.